What's up YouTube? I'm Nickel8275 and I'm just getting my channel started out here today. So if you could show me some love with a like and subscribe, it'd be greatly appreciated. Anyways, I'll be bringing you Master Duel and Yu-Gi-Oh content regularly from now on. I do have plans to improve my setup so I can do some live streaming in the future, but for now, I'm just going to start with some deck profile videos and just going over some of my gameplay from the past season. So today I'm going to talk about my Synchron deck, and this is a deck that took me all the way to Master 1 last season, Season 26, with the boost from the new support that dropped in the last selection pack, mainly Revolution Synchron, Crimson Dragon, as well as the wanted Diabell Star package. So the main win condition for the deck is resolving Speeder, of course. And there are several ways that this deck can do that, as it essentially turbos out level 4s and 7s, as well as your level 1 tuner, which is usually going to be Jet Synchron, but it can also sometimes be Revolution Synchron, revived from the graveyard using Ancient Fairy Dragon. So the main way that you're going to get to your 4s and 7 is through the Adventure Engine, Kashtira Engine, and the Diabell Star Engine. And those are all also great at absorbing interruption from your opponent. So the goal there is always going to be prioritizing which effects you can withstand being negated, and going with those first, and then trying to preserve whatever you have in hand to get to your speeder for last. And as a side note, this deck is actually going to get even better next season with the recent ban list announcing that Water Enchantress is being moved from 1 copy to the 2 copy limit. So that's really going to help you insulate your combos and get you into speeder even more consistently. Although this deck already rarely bricks, primarily because we are mostly just running gas, so it is light on hand traps, and that's going to play into what the biggest weakness of the deck is, which is certainly going second. And in those instances, we rely on your off-engine packages to break boards, such as the Adventure Engine, the Kashtira Engine, and of course, Triple Tactics. And my favorite part about the deck is the second win condition, which is going to be decking your opponent out. And you'll notice in the deck list that I do not run Ash Blossom in this deck, and that is because once we see Maxi come out, it's game on. As there are a number of ways to draw cards, your TG Librarian, a couple of the other synchros that we run, and also Triple Tactics Thrust and Garden Rose Maiden, and that's all going to help you get to card destruction so that you can deck your opponent out that first turn. Alright, let's get into the gameplay, and then I'll wrap up the video with the deck list at the end. Like and subscribe. Thank you. Alright, so the first video I'm going to show you here is my rank up game to Master 1. And we're going to end up playing against a branded deck, and they will go full combo. So this is just going to show you some of the capabilities of actually breaking a board with this deck. And we did draw a really great hand for doing so with the Red Reboot and the Called by the Grave, as well as being able to get into our Kashtira and the Diabell engines. I'm going to go ahead and speed up his turn. So we're going to draw into Wanted, and you're going to want to activate that in the draw phase to play around Troll and Lockbird. And then we're going to want to start off with our Kashtira monster to try and draw out any interaction that we can. And then we're going to activate our Diabell here, our Sinful Spoils to get into our Jet Synchron. And then normally I would save the draw going first until after I resolve Speeder, but trying to break a board, we're going to go for the draw. And we're going to go into Excel Synchro, Stardust Dragon here, And then here you're going to see me use the Jet Synchron effect to search for the junk level 4 monster, and that is going to happen because we don't have any other way to get to a level 4. And then you're going to see how useful Red Reboot can be, as well as Called By against Branded. They're going to summon the Caritas here, which we're not worried about that. And then they're going to go for the Banish, which we are going to use our Excel Dragon's effect to dodge it. Drawing into 1-for-1 was really a key draw for us to allow us to break through this board. And then we end up drawing into the Reborn Tengu there, making our junk converter not necessary. So we'll hold that so we can special summon him later. And then we're going to get into Speeder. And this is what is going to happen a lot of times when you resolve Speeder, because it basically means the game is over. Alright, now I'm going to show you one where I'm going first. And we open up with the Rite of Erismir, and they hit us with a Maxi. So a lot of decks, you see Maxi, and you don't have the out for it, and you might want to quit right on the spot, right? But not with this deck. With this deck, we see opportunity. So right away, you already see that we open Triple Tactics Thrust, so we don't even need to worry about getting into our draws. The main focus is going to be, of course, getting into Speeder, and then after that we're going to need to get into Garden Rose Maiden so that we can get some tokens on the opponent's field to make our Thrust live. And then once we have our Thrust live, we're going to want to make sure that we can set up as many negates as possible to protect us against Droll and Lockbird, or Ash Blossom, or Nibiru, anything that can stop us from getting to card destruction and getting the deck out. So he's going to try to imperm the Garden Rose Maiden there, and we're going to have to use the Baron negate because that would kill our strategy altogether. So now we get to our Clear Wing Synchro, which is going to give us another negate. And then of course, now that we are able to summon the tokens on their field, it's going to shut off impermanence if they are to draw into a second or third copy. We're going to use Crimson Dragon here. And Crimson Dragon is going to allow us to get into Bestial Dispater. And then we're going to get into Psy-Frame Lord Omega and use Omega's Rip. And the reason why we do that is so that we can have a banished card to make our Dispater negate live, which you're going to see come in handy right here. So we can stop the Ash Blossom, and then we still have one more negate in case we need it for a Droll and Lockbird or something like that. This setup is complete, so we go to our Thrust to draw our card destruction, and boom, they actually do have the Droll and Lockbird, so thankfully we were able to set up the negate for that, and we can go ahead and resolve our card destruction and win the game. Alright, so this one here is one of the few examples where this deck does brick, but it's actually a really fun one to show you because you see this card Black Garden. Well, at times it can brick your hand. It also acts as a really great stall card, especially in the current meta with the Snake Eyes, where they need to special summon a bunch of times before they can get to any sort of card removal. originally I was thinking with the Max C in hand I was looking pretty good, but of course they are able to negate the Max C. However, I'm still feeling good because I think that with the Wall of Roses that Black Garden is going to set up for me, as well as having Revolution Synchron in hand to be able to start me out next turn, and the Max C knowing how much Snake Eyes likes to summon on your turn, so we're still looking pretty good. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and speed up the rest of his turn here. And then of course he's going to get the lucky draw into Triple Tactics here, and he's going to hand rip my Synchron. But we still got a chance with our Maxi and our Synchro Overtake, and we get a great draw into our Adventure Engine here. And we're going to go for our second Maxi, and our second Maxi of the game is going to get negated. So now we just have to do all we can to play through his negates. Alright, and now that we were able to bait out the Baron negate, we can go ahead and go into battle phase to open our field up. And that's going to allow us to get into Speeder. So at this point we've already given up our battle phase, so we have to do all that we can to clear his board using monster effects, as well as maybe trying to rip some cards from his hand. So we are going to use the Jet Synchron effect to search for the level 4 junk card because we are low on non-tuners. And then he's going to hit us with the Droll and Mockbird here, which honestly isn't going to hurt us too much. Normally we would go into Hyper Librarian to create a bunch of card advantage here, so it's going to stop us from doing that. And then he's going to try and pop our card with his Promethean Princess, but we will dodge that with the Excel Synchro effect. And now we try to break the board. First we're going to go into Jet Warrior here, and we're going to be able to spin one of his cards. And then we're going to go into Stardust Charge Warrior here, and normally we would get a draw off of this, but we are stopped by Droll. But we need him in order to climb into Trishula, which is one of our best going second board breaking cards. We're going to banish the Princess so they can't use it again, banish the Amble Wheel from his graveyard, and then we're going to rip the last card out of his hand. And then we're going to bring back Revolution Synchron and use the Trishula to go into Baron. And then we can pop his Baron. And then we're going to go for Crimson Dragon here. Crimson Dragon will target the Baron to go into Bestial Dissipator. And we will tribute the Dissipator with Stardust. And then we'll use Assault Synchron's effect to bring back Dissipator and Stardust Trail's effect to summon itself. And now we're gonna go into Frame Lord Omega here, which we'll use to rip his hand on the next turn. And then lastly, we're going to go into Ancient Fairy Dragon to pop his field spell as well. And now in the standby phase, we can go ahead and recycle Stardust Trail here. We're gonna pop the Ash. And now we can rip this from his hand when he activates to summon it. And then we're gonna negate this effect here to special summon 2 from the graveyard. And then he's gonna scoop. I don't think he had any Link 3s left to go into. Alright, so this next one here is another one going first. So we're gonna open with our Diabell. And then we're gonna get Max Seed. So unlike the last one I showed you where we opened with triple tactics, we are gonna have to set up our draws here and try to dig through the deck to find it. So we're gonna go into Excel Synchro Dragon, bring back the Jet Synchron, and we are gonna search for the junk level 4 because we needed it. Normal summon him, and then we'll use Excel's effect to go into an unaffected speeder. Red Reboot is great because it covers you against Imperm. So now the goal is to get into TG Hyper Librarian and try to draw through as much of the deck as we can. So now we're going to set up our first negate here. And he's going to special summon a Scareclaw Master, so we'll drop the Max C. And thankfully we had our negate so that we could stop that Droll and Lockbird from killing us. We're going to get another draw here from the Ravenous Croc, which is going to open us up into our adventure package. Now we're going to go into Crimson Dragon here. We'll use the Clear Wing Dragon since we already used the negate. It's going to give us another draw. And now we're going to go into the level 6 Stardust monster, which is going to give us another draw. It's also going to allow us to summon a token. And I should also mention that normally we would try to get into the Garden Rose Maiden to make Thrust live, but they already put the Scareclaw monster on the board for us, so we don't need to do that. We use Crimson to go into Trishula here. We don't activate the effect because we don't need to, and we finally draw into Card Destruction. So we're going to negate his Ash Blossom here. And that is going to open us up and allow us to use Card Destruction. But we'll go into Baron first for good measure. Alright, now I'm going to show you a couple replays to show that this deck can survive in the meta going second. I have a couple here against Snake Eyes, and I'll go ahead and speed up this turn. Alright, so one thing you're going to want to do against Snake Eyes if you can is go ahead and preemptively banish the Promethean Princess. Anytime you draw into your Kashtira cards, you're going to want to go into those first. And they are great at breaking boards. He's going to clear the Fenrir with a Goddess. I tried to bait an Ash Blossom there with the Enchantress. So now we're going to go into our token, get our Adventure Engine set up. He triggers our Fateful Adventure for us with his summon. And now we're going to get our Griffin Rider on the field. So now we can go ahead and get into our Excel Synchro with the negate that we had live, bring back the Jet Synchron, and go into an unaffected speeder. So right there you're going to want to keep speeder on the field so that you can special summon that level 4 in your hand. So we'll go right into Baron, special summon the level 4. And now we're going to get into our Hyper Librarian so we can create some card advantage. So now we're going to start generating some draws. Croc's gonna give us more draws. And we'll use Croc's second effect to pop the Emblo Wheel, and then we're gonna use the Called By to negate the special summon from the graveyard there. And now we can use the Birth to bring back our Fenrir, search our Unicorn. We're gonna get into Crimson Dragon here. Crimson Dragon will target the Baron in order to bring out Dissipator. And now we're gonna go into our Frame Lord Omega. We'll rip one card, and then we'll special summon the Omega back. And now we can go into battle phase and end the game. Alright, so here's another one going second against Snake Eyes, and I will speed up this turn again. And as you can see, this hand isn't that great with 2 copies of Jet Synchron and a Black Garden. So we do get a pretty good draw here with the Sakatima. It's going to give us a free level 4. And then we're going to go ahead and activate our Wanted in the standby phase to play around Droll. And then the plan was to try and use the Thrust before they were able to get into Baron, but of course they're able to negate it with their Ash Blossom. So now we have to do what we can do, bait out the Baron negate. Black Garden does act as a good face-up card to send for Sinful Spoils. And he's going to go ahead and negate the Sinful Spoils, and then we're going to take our draw here, and then we're going to use our free normal summon and normal summon our Jet Synchron in order to get into our Excel Synchro Dragon. He's going to pop the Synchro Dragon, but we're still able to get the special summon back off of it. And now, having played through all of his interruption, we can go ahead and go into Speeder. We know he doesn't have an Ash because he already used it, so we should be good to go. And had this been a trap right here, we would have been covered with our red reboot. And so now that we resolve Speeder, it's time to break his board. First thing we're going to do is try to generate some draws so we can get into some card advantage. And we get right into our adventure engine. This is going to allow us to get a negate on the board. And then we can use our adventure to spin his card. And then we're going to get into our Ancient Fairy Dragon to pop his field spell and search our Kashtira field spell, which is going to give us a attack boost across our board. And now we're going to go into Stardust here. Since our Excel Dragon was popped earlier and we couldn't go into it, that's going to allow us to special summon our Stardust Trail. And then we're going to go into Frame Lord Omega. And we'll use the Omega to rip one from his hand. And now we'll bring back our Jet Synchron. And that's going to allow us to get into our Hyper Librarian to try to create some more card advantage. Next we're going to go into our Crimson Dragon here. We'll sacrifice the Ancient Fairy Dragon and then use Assault's effect to bring it back, as well as Trail's effect to special summon itself. And now we're going to go into Baron. And then we'll use Crimson Dragon's effect to go into Dissipator. Dissipator will bring back our Frame Lord Omega. And now we're going to go into battle phase and clean up the rest of his board. So now going into his turn, we're going to have 2 negates or a pop, we're going to have a hand rip, and we'll have our called by. So we'll go ahead and recycle our Enchantress so that we can get back into our adventure package on the next turn. And we're going to go ahead and pop his Diabell so that he can't use it to summon a level 1. And then we're going to stop his Snake Eyes from special summoning from the graveyard. And then we'll go ahead and rip one from his hand. And then honestly, I misplay right here by negating this because I forget that they had another graveyard effect where they can search for their level 1. So really I should have saved the negate for right here, which would have ended his turn. So he is able to build a little bit of a board back and break up my board. But we do survive the turn. And so we get our Omega back, and if you notice there, they do get a Nibiru back into their hand, so we have to be mindful of that. So now the game plan is to clear his board and 4 summons. We're going to go into our token here, and then we'll bring back our Jet Synchron. And then that'll allow us to get into our Trishula, which will clear his board, plus a hand rip. And now we can go into battle phase and end the game. I'll just wrap up the video here with the deck list so you can go ahead and give it a shot for yourself. Please like, subscribe, comment, let me know what type of content you want to see, and thanks for watching.